Hi, I'm Carl Azus. Glad you're watching CNN Student News. Millions in New York and New Jersey are asking, what blizzard? While millions in New England are saying, this one. The forecast was off in some areas, but not Massachusetts. Boston got hit with one of its heaviest winter storms ever, and several other cities in the state recorded 30 inches of snow by yesterday afternoon, with more on the way. Coastal communities flooded. The storm surge, a wall of water pushed by a storm, broke through the seawall in the town of Marshfield, Massachusetts. One emergency official said the entire south part of the town was cut off by flooding. And forceful winds knocked out power to the entire island of Nantucket. But though the National Weather Service predicted a raging blizzard also in New York and New Jersey, it wasn't so bad there. Some people called it snowperbole. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio had a better safe than sorry response, and some meteorologists apologized for getting it wrong and alarming residents. Why is the weather so hard to predict?
Major event forecasting is probably the hardest thing we have to do because those are the events that people remember. If you blow the snowstorm and you say 20 inches in New York and it's 20 inches in New Jersey instead, people only remember that you said 20 in New York and it didn't happen. We have computer models that literally try to forecast what's going to happen, and then we believe those models. If the models are wrong, then we're wrong. The problem with the models are that you can't put all the data in, or if you had everything in the world into the model, it would take you 4 days to make a one-day forecast. Right now, one of the models that we use, the best model in the world, has 22 layers. 22 layers of the atmosphere. You think the layers of the atmosphere, think they're 22? No, there's infinite number of layers of the atmosphere, but we have to break it down to 22. The parameters of a weather model are vast. We have temperature at the ground, we have temperatures in the mid-level, temperatures aloft, how big the jet stream is, what the humidity is, what the wind direction is, what the water temperatures are, where the mountains are, where the low pressure is, where the high pressure is. All of those factors fit in. And so what we have is a model that says, if this today, then this tomorrow. And then, if this tomorrow, then this the next day. And if the first day is wrong, all the way down the model's wrong. As a meteorologist, whether you're on TV, working for the Hurricane Center, Cirrus Storms Forecast Lab, local weather station, doesn't matter. You're out there trying to protect people, trying to protect the livelihood, trying to protect their lives. We're the king of worst case scenario. That's what my wife calls me. Don't you ever think about the best case scenario? No, because you can't prepare for the best case scenario. You can only prepare for the worst. If you're prepared for the worst and it doesn't happen, you're safe. If you're prepared for the worst and it does happen, you're safe. If you're prepared for the best case and the worst case happens, you're in trouble.
If you don't live in the Northeast and you did a bit of stargazing Monday night, you might have seen it. The asteroid that buzzed our planet. Well, maybe not exactly buzzed. It was 745,000 miles away. That's 3 times as far away as the moon. But surprisingly, it didn't come alone. Scientists say the asteroid has its own moon, something they discovered as the rocks whizzed by. The moon is estimated to be about 230 feet wide, the asteroid itself about 1/3 of a mile across. It wasn't a threat, but it's believed to be the biggest asteroid that'll pass near Earth until 2027. If the town of Agloe wasn't in New York and the town of Whitewall wasn't in California, why would they appear on some antique maps of the states? Forgers. Early map makers didn't want people copying their work and then reselling it, so they created paper towns, fake towns that they could identify if someone forged their work. It helped protect their copyright. Now maps random. All right, there was an unwelcome visitor at the White House earlier this week. A drone flying at a low altitude crashed on the southeast side of the White House grounds. The president wasn't home and no one was hurt. Secret Service says the man operating it was using it recreationally and just lost control, and that he's a government employee who called to self-report the incident. Flying drones is illegal in Washington, D.C., but people have still done it. The FAA and lawmakers have been scrambling to define what exactly the laws should be concerning drones. They're one example of technology moving faster than the rules that govern it.
I've actually asked the FAA and a number of agencies to examine how are we managing this new technology, because the drone that landed in the White House you buy in Radio Shack. You know that there are companies like Amazon that are talking about using small drones to deliver packages. There are incredibly useful functions that these drones can play in terms of farmers who are managing crops, and conservationists who want to take stock of wildlife. So there are a whole range of things we can do with it, but we don't really have any kind of regulatory structure at all for it. This is similar to what's happened in cyberspace. These technologies that we're developing had the capacity to empower individuals in ways that we couldn't even imagine 10, 15 years ago.
The long, tall Texans. Our viewers in Arlington know what we're talking about. They're leading off our roll today, the Texans at Sam Houston High School in the Lone Star State. I hear they see more owls in Indiana. Seymour, Indiana. Owl bet. We're talking about Seymour Middle School. And we're wrapping up in Palmyra. There are a few of those. Palmyra Area High School is in the Hoosier State of Pennsylvania. Let's go Cougars! Here's something from biology class. Our last story today involves the phylum Echinodermata, which includes starfish, sea cucumbers, and sea urchins. The urchins, there are about 950 species of them. They're invertebrates. They live on the ocean floor. They have 2 feet that help them move around. And they're the source of uni. It's a form of sushi that's in very high demand worldwide. It's said to have a sweet, light, and a bit of a briny flavor. And if you want to get into the business of harvesting it, you have to dive in.
Can you tell me who that is? No, I can't. In fact, you're going to have to cover your eyes shortly.
I enjoy being under the water, the total weightlessness and euphoria that really you can experience nowhere else but maybe outer space. I have a really good idea of where the urchins are going to be. Most of the time I know where they're going to be, where I need to harvest, and where the best quality is going to be. Our uni ends up all across the world. There's a paste that's made up that ends up in Italy. There is processed uni that ends up in Japan or China or Korea or other Asian countries. Whole urchins end up here in the continental U.S. at high-end sushi restaurants. Domestically, people are really acquiring a taste for sushi and uni. There's nothing that I've tasted that tastes like urchins. Some urchin roe is bitter, some is sweet, but it is for some it is an acquired taste. My job is sometimes the easiest job in the world, and sometimes my job is the most difficult job in the world as far as danger, in that we fish during the winter time. We fish during really cold weather, during really windy weather. But I enjoy diving tremendously. There's nowhere else that I can think of you're going to escape cell phones and noise and just everyday commotion other than underwater or maybe up on a mountain somewhere.
Wonder if putting on that equipment gives them an irking back. If you fish for raw fish, if sushi is for yushi, if you find uni uniformly delicious, then you see how the sea has the sea of delicacies that you need to enjoy uni, you see. I'm Carl Zeus, and I'm going for a burger. We'll see you tomorrow on CNN Student News.